Hey you! Have you noticed things are getting more expensive? Why does my money buy less every year?
This is the digital revolution. No retreat, we are the movement. Building empires that forever last. We don't fold, we rise, we blast.
For example, in 1971, a full grocery cart cost $10. Fast forward to now, that same amount of items in the grocery cart costs $77. But this doesn't just apply to food. Back in 1971, a car could cost $3,000. If we were to buy that same car today, we would be paying $22,000. It is insane! What is going on here? Why do prices keep going up? Are businesses just getting more greedy? Actually, no. There is a simple explanation, and that is inflation. You've probably heard of it, but do you really know what it means? What exactly is inflation? What causes it? How does it impact you and me? Is it a bad thing or a good thing? In this video, we are going to deep dive in understanding inflation. What is inflation? In its most simple terms, inflation is when prices for goods and services increase, making your money's purchasing power decrease. For example, I could go to the theater for $1.5 back in 1971. But if I go to the theater today, it would cost me $20 for that same showing. Everything seems to be more expensive. Prices are going up while the value of our money is going down. What causes inflation? There are different factors that cause inflation, but we will cover the most common ones. One example is demand pull inflation. This happens when too many people want to buy something, but there isn't enough of it, so prices go up, up, up. Let's look at an example. Remember the early days of our global pandemic back in 2020? There was panic buy for toilet paper because supplies were running low. We saw prices surge from $6.97 to as high as $22 for a 12-pack roll of toilet paper. People start competing to buy, causing the prices of toilet paper to go up. This is demand pull inflation. Another form of inflation is cost push inflation. This happens when the cost to make something goes up. For example, imagine going to fill your car with gas, and overnight the price has quadrupled. That is basically what happened in 1973. We call this the oil shock. In 1973, a war had broken out in the Middle East, and in response, some oil-producing Arab countries stopped selling oil to nations that supported Israel. This is called an oil embargo. Because these countries were big oil suppliers, suddenly there was less oil for the world, and prices shot up fast. Oil went from $3 a barrel to almost $12 a barrel. That's 4x the price. Now imagine that you own a business that ships goods across the country, uses machines that run on oil, and buys packaging made from oil. Suddenly, everything is more expensive for you. So what do? You raise prices to stay in business. This is cost push inflation. Prices go up not because customers want more, but because it costs more to make and move stuff. A third form of inflation is built-in inflation. This happens when people expect prices to keep rising, so they act in ways that actually cause prices to keep rising. For example, Beanie works at a bakery. Last year, groceries got more expensive, so she tells her boss,
"Hey, boss, I need a raise to keep up with my bills."
The boss gives her a raise, but now he is paying more to Beanie and his other employees. In order for the boss to continue making the same amount of profit in his business, he needs to raise the price of bread. Now, customers are paying more for bread. That means Beanie's groceries are also increasing in price. So next year, Beanie will once again ask for another raise, and round it goes. The cycle continues. This is built-in inflation at work. The last type of inflation we are going to talk about is monetary inflation, which I think is the greatest sin of all. This is when the Federal Reserve prints more money. Imagine a small town called Pancakeville. Pancakeville has $100 total in the whole town, and it makes 100 pancakes a day. So each pancake costs $1. Now one day, the town's leaders decide to build a huge stadium, fund a war with Waffleton, bail out the syrup factories that went bankrupt. But they don't have enough money, so they print $100 more to pay for everything. Now Pancakeville has $200, but still only 100 pancakes. More money, but the same amount of pancakes. prices go up. Each pancake now costs $2 instead of $1. The value of each dollar is cut in half. Currency lost value because the money supply doubled, but the goods didn't. Let's bring us back to real life. From 1971 to now, the dollar lost 92% of its value, meaning $100 in 1971 buys just $7.84 today. Sneaky right. This hidden tax hits consumers hardest, as wages rarely keep pace. Our purchasing power declines year after year. This is monetary inflation. How are the different types of inflation connected? Now that you have an understanding of the four most common types of inflation, let me walk you through a visual of how it is all one big inflation cycle. Imagine living in a town, Inflationville, where it is peaceful. Everyone works, shops, and lives a pretty decent life. Until one day, a storm of inflation hits. Cycle 1. Monetary inflation begins the storm. The government of Inflationville wants to build shiny new roads, fund a space mission, and help some struggling factories. But they don't have enough money. So, they print more. Suddenly, more money is floating around, but the same number of goods exist. Result? Money loses value. Prices start rising. Cycle 2. Demand pull inflation joins the party. Now that people have more money, because the Federal Reserve printed more, they rush to buy things they couldn't before. New phones, vacations, even toilet paper. But businesses weren't ready for this spike in demand. There aren't enough goods to go around. Result? Prices rise again as people compete to get limited stuff. Cycle 3. Cost push inflation enters the scene. Meanwhile, due to global events like oil shortages and supply chain issues, the cost to produce and transport these goods goes up. Gas is expensive. Materials become hard to get. Businesses now pay more to make the same product. Result? To stay afloat, businesses raise their prices yet again. Cycle 4. Built-in inflation locks in the cycle. People notice everything is more expensive. Groceries, rent, gas. So they go to their bosses and say, "Hey, I need a raise just to survive." Bosses give raises, but now their labor costs go up. So they need to raise their prices again to keep profits stable. This fuels even more inflation, and the cycle repeats. Result? Everyone expects prices to rise, so they act in ways that make prices rise. See? Each type of inflation can trigger the other, like dominoes. Wow, that's a lot of information. Are you still with me? Here is a quick recap of the different types of inflation we discussed. Now you are probably wondering, how does inflation impact you and me? Let's look at some real-life examples. Example 1, the ripple effect. When gas goes up in price, it doesn't just affect your road trips. It affects shipping, groceries, even that burger you grew up eating. Back in 1992, a burger meal cost $2.99. That same meal today is $15.5, $7. Same meal. Bigger price tag. Inflation doesn't just affect certain goods or industries. It is a ripple effect that spreads across the entire economy. Example 2. Dollar being stretched. If your wages don't go up with inflation, you're left stretching every dollar, meaning you get less for the same amount of work. Now imagine, for retirees on fixed income, this means less for food, medicine, or rent coverage. Back in 1971, it is estimated that a retiree would need approximately $100,000 to $150,000 to retire comfortably, but with the increase in cost of living and life expectancy over the past 5 decades, Americans now believe they need an average of $1.46 million to retire comfortably. Holy moly! Example 3. Savings shrink. Imagine you put $100 in your bank back in 2020. Now, that $100 can only buy you $80 worth of stuff today. The purchasing power of your money has declined 20% within just a few years. That doesn't seem like a lot, right? Right? But compounded over years, it adds up. For example, in 1971, $1,000 would give you 200 grocery trips. Today, it only buys you 30 grocery trips. Sadly, it isn't even your fault. You just kept your money safely in the bank. I know we were taught to save money in the bank, but nobody told us our money loses value each year through inflation. Example 4. Inflation widens wealth gaps. Jelly Bean here is rich. She owns a house, some stocks, and rents out a few apartments. Soybean works hard, but lives paycheck to paycheck. He rents his home and has few savings. Now when inflation hits, Soybean's rent, groceries, and gas cost more, but his paycheck stays the same. He now has even less money to put into savings, making it harder to keep up. Jelly Bean, on the other hand, raises the rent on her properties. Her house and stocks go up in value, where she is actually making more money from inflation. Soybean gets poorer. Jelly Bean gets richer. Inflation doesn't impact everybody equally. The wealthy who have assets, stocks, real estate, gold, crypto, etc., gain as values rise, while the average worker face higher cost with wages that cannot keep up. Whoa, that's a lot of examples of why our money buys less every year. Inflation isn't just numbers on a chart. It's real life. It's the reason your wallet feels lighter, your bills feel heavier, and your future feels more expensive. But don't worry, knowledge is power. Now that you understand inflation, you can make smarter choices about your money. Stay tuned. We've got more wisdom to share on our channel as we navigate inflation together. If you enjoy watching more videos like this, please like and subscribe, and make sure to check out our next video.